Hey folks, in this interview, we're going to be talking about data storage tech for creatives. This is TWiP. Hey, welcome back to another This Week in Photo interview. I'm here with Mihir Shah. He is the CEO of a company called, let's make sure I get it right, StorCentric. We're going to talk about where that company came from and a bunch of other things as it relates to data storage tech for photographers. But enough of me. Mihir, welcome to This Week in Photo. How are you doing?
Good. We can never get enough of you.
Yes, you can. Trust me. Ask anybody I know. It's easy to get.
Thanks for having me.
I'm like wasabi, man. You know, just a little bit. That's all you need. No, it's good to have you on. We haven't talked in a while, and I've been looking forward to this conversation because since the last time we spoke, a lot has happened in your world, right? In your professional world. And I want to talk about that. So before we start, so most photographers know the name Drobo. Many people in the industry know some of the other names that we mentioned, like, you know, StorCentric is a newer name,
Sure.
Nexan, right? So put it all together, because most of us saw in the industry saw the press release saying that StorCentric acquired Drobo or Nexan, and it was kind of unclear. Clear it up for us so we know who bought who and what's going on there.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of this is mechanics. But you know, when we sat back as a team about 8-9 months ago, we quickly realized what has been missing in the marketplace. Right, you have a lot of storage companies that have grown really fast, and as a part of it, our objective was to acquire technologies that would help solve the workflow of the creative industry. And Drobo was a platform that I was running, and or a company that I was running, and again, very focused on the small to mid-sized customer segment. Mm-hmm. And Nexan, interestingly enough, was a company that came up for sale that was in the creative space, among others, but more at a larger scale. So if you think of companies like NFL Films or HBO Go, these are the types of places where Nexan resides. Oh, and as we were going through our diligence, what we learned was that Nexan would be the core backing up data and archiving it for distribution. And Drobos were sitting on top of the editors' desks, being utilized. And so we thought it was a very natural fit. And kind of as I look forward to where StorCentric is going to be, we want to make sure we put in companies or technology that really help that full workflow of our customers, whether it be single proprietors who are running their photography studios, all the way up to media companies that are looking to archive and back up their most important data, which is their content. And so that's kind of the genesis of this. And again, it was really what we felt in the marketplace was lacking, is really putting that customer centricity, behind it. And as we look forward, like I said, the goal is to, put in pieces of the puzzle that we can go sell into the customer to help solve some of the most critical challenges, whether it be small components of each technology or kind of a complete solution set. I know solution's kind of this buzzword that's always used, but it's really focused on helping customers solve their problems.
Now, when you talk about that, it sounds like from an outsider's perspective, it sounds a lot like there's a enterprise solution, right? So like you said, selling into HBO Go and sort of powering the things that make 2018 plus life possible, right? All that, those sorts of things. And then on the creative side, like you said, you're on the desktops of people like me and people that are in editing bays and workstations and that sort of thing. Does that complete the ecosystem, or are you guys looking at other sort of areas to sort of stretch into, both on the enterprise side and on the consumer side?
Yeah, so I don't think we'll go much more higher on the enterprise. And, I'll tell you why. The level of R&D investment required to compete against the behemoths like EMC and NetApp is difficult to maintain for a company our size. Sure. Now, I never say never, right? but where we Nexan, which is the other company, it also has a mid-sized business portfolio as well. So that'll compete against, if you think about kind of low end HP, low end NetApp type devices. We do compete well with those when it comes to kind of price per terabyte and those types of things. And so it's not like a gap. There's not like a gap where it stops. In fact, there's just a tiny bit of overlap where Drobo leaves off, kind of Nexan picks up. If that makes sense.
Now, does it, and just full disclosure, many moons ago, I was an employee at Drobo. So
that's right.
Right. Yeah. So I know, but this was many evolutions of Drobo ago, right? So yeah. So it's got through changes and evolution since then. But back in the day, I mean, even consumers will remember this. Back in the day, it was the sort of the split between the smaller Drobos, which were targeted at consumers and desktops, and throwing your photos on there and snapshots and taxes and that sort of thing, and then the larger Drobo units were more targeted at being rack mounted and being enterprise level. Is that still the metaphor that you're going for, where we have consumer and enterprise on the Drobo side, or have we shifted Drobo as an entity to more focus on the consumer and prosumer market, and then all the Nexan stuff is now aimed squarely at fully enterprise and anything that's going to go slide into a rack somewhere?
Yeah, you're exactly right. Right. What I think where Drobo missed a beat on the enterprise side is there's features like dual controller cards, dual backup power supplies, and those types of things. So it was difficult for them to compete in that market. Where I think Nexan has all those technologies and architectures already developed. Yeah. And so, again, I think there's a very good demarcation point where who would need a Drobo box, which is what we call prosumers and consumers or sophisticated consumers. And then as we kind of move up a little bit up the IT stack, we'll see Nexan fit right where kind of the B1200 left off. Yeah. Right. Remember the B1200?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where, where we see it. And what we're trying to do is integrate some of the ease of use features from Drobo onto, the Nexan product line. So there will be some light integration work that we've done because, again, we want to, at the end of the day, my whole view is IT's got to be simple as well. And so how can we take the best of both products and make it simple for the end user to operate?
Well, speaking of simplicity, let's just sort of break it down a little bit for folks who may be familiar. The Drobo name, the brand is very familiar, especially in the creative industries, right? So for the people that may be familiar with the brand or may not be familiar with the brand, but may not understand what the value that Drobo, the device itself, brings, and the sort of the proprietary things that are happening inside the magic black box. Can you give us sort of the elevator pitch on what's in there and what makes it special?
Yeah, and so real quick, Drobo, and everybody's aware of its beyond RAID technology, right? We provide ease of use, flexibility, the ability to mix and match drive sizes and drive brands, and so we've always maintained that level of technology investment on that side of the business. And as we know, everybody's morphing their laptops and their PCs to more SSDs, but SSDs are they're more expensive, right? And so we believe the need for an external storage device actually has been growing for us. Like our demand has been off the charts. We can't actually build product fast enough to go and put it out in the marketplace because, like I said, you have a thin computer with so much SSD capacity out there before you kind of spend out the wazoo to get large amounts of SSD capacity that a 5D sitting next to your workstation makes complete sense.
Yeah, especially for people on limited budgets, and which typically is a symptom of being a creative, right? So let's talk about the other side of that coin, right? So you have your massive pool of storage sitting next to your machine, and it just shows up on your Mac, your Windows machine as a drive. You drop files onto it. It handles it from there, making things redundant and all that. But devil's advocate in this argument, people will say, well, it's 2018, it's going to be 2020 soon. Why am I putting stuff on local storage? Why not just put everything in the cloud? Amazon storage is cheap these days, or I could do this, or even why buy that device from here? Why don't I just go down to Best Buy and buy some cheap drives, or get on Amazon and buy some cheap drives and plug them in and call it a day? What's the retort to that?
Yeah. So I'll answer the cloud question first. And again, we have this conversation internally all the time. How is cloud going to impact our business? Yeah. Look, we're going to have to coexist with the cloud. But what I do know when it comes to latency, cloud is not going to allow you to edit your 4K video directly off the cloud. You know that, right?
Yeah.
However, if you want to back up to the cloud or save your files from disaster recovery and those types of things, we think it's an ideal use case to go and do that.
It's now, an and, not an or, right?
Exactly, right? I mean, look, you're in the business of creating content and creating media. You want to make sure that you're not only you have it on-prem, but you also have a copy of that stuff online, because that's your business. You make money off of that, right? And you want to make sure your data is protected. On the single drive stuff, look, 4K, videos, pictures are becoming denser. YouTube content creation is going through the roof. I don't know about you, but do you want 10 single drives laying around, having to code it and figure out where it is? Again, we provided...
Not anymore, man. Back in the day, that's the way my desk looked, but not anymore.
And so, funny enough, we get a lot of questions on that, and I'll let you guys in on a little bit of a secret. We are looking at creating a Drobo branded single drive, right?
Cool.
Where you're out in the field and you're out to shooting, that you want to have that portable capability, and how do you integrate that within your Drobo? Wait and see. We got some pretty cool stuff coming out on that next year.
I can only imagine. Can I put in a request now, since I have you on the hot seat?
You got it.
I want a ruggedized drive that I can throw in my camera bag that doesn't have to be waterproof, but at least water resistant, shock proof, that I can go. It's fast enough for me to edit on. But then I want to be able to bring it home and stick it into my Drobo, or connect it to my Drobo somehow, and have it just do the right thing and show me everything on my main workstation.
Right?
That's what I want.
That's right. Full pane of glass.
All right. That's what I want. So piggybacking on that, Mihir, so what about competition? So there's a lot of competition out there. Like, speaking of ruggedized drives, there's Narbox out there. There's other drive manufacturers, Western Digital. There's all these people that are making drives that are great and good, and so good in some ways, great in other ways. How does that impact you, and who do you consider your scariest competition right now?
Yeah, on the Drobo side, we're fortunate to have, the greatest customers out in the world, right? Mm-hmm. They, good or bad, they'll let us know, which is great, right? They help us develop features and products, but I'm not too worried about the competition, because, if you go focus on that all the time, you end up creating Me Too products. Our Drobo's had a long history of creating products that are a little bit different. Look, somebody will say you got, X amount of speed capability, but, does someone really value that, or do they value the fact that they can plug it in, spend, maybe 10, 15 minutes setting it up, and then spend the rest of your time with your family, rather than try to configure a RAID for 24 hours. Yeah. So our value proposition is a little bit different. I do agree with the fact that the ruggedized portable drives are somewhat of a commodity. And, what we're working on is to uncommoditize that market for our customers, right? And when I talk about that,
what does that mean, uncommoditize the market?
So it means what value can we provide beyond just selling you a hard drive, mm-hmm. right? Western Digital or these other companies sell you different products that don't integrate well, that don't operate well together. But if I can tell you, hey, we create a product that maybe has a Wi-Fi chip in it, you bring it home, you slap it down on your computer, your Drobo recognizes it already and starts uploading those pictures while you take a shower and unpack your bags, that could be of value to you.
Yeah,
right?
For sure. Yeah.
So those are the types of things that, we focus on, every day. How can we make life easier for you? I can sell you another drive, make $10 on it and go away. But that's not the point of what we want to do. Like I said, we created StorCentric to be, we're storage experts, but we want to create products that are really around solving customer problems, right? And being that quote unquote trusted advisor, whether it be on the large side of companies all the way down to single users, right? Hey, you know what? These guys know what storage is all about, and I've bought into their philosophy on how to manage it.
Yeah. So with that, speaking of product lines, and I know you can't, Silicon Valley speak, you can't speak about unreleased products or services, etc. But have you given any thought as a CEO to moving into the the compact flash or the SD space, into those markets to really sort of, create the ultimate ecosystem for photographers when it comes to storing, media and that sort of thing?
TBD, right?
I cannot talk about that right now.
It's funny. It has definitely popped up in our product roadmap discussions that we have every year. We have an annual strategy meeting, and we've talked about it, right? Mm-hmm. The thing is, if you get into directly making the compact flash device, there's a few customers out there, and I'm just rebranding it as Drobo and selling you a card. Mm-hmm. But where we think it's interesting is, what if you can eject those cards out of your computer and have a slot on your Drobo that you pop in and be able to populate into a special drive that's already created for you?
That would be killer. Yeah, that would be killer.
So again, I want to move the conversation away from, look, we're making these hardware products to go do this, to, hey, look, this is the value that Drobo provides me, mm-hmm. regardless of just selling you, another box. Because I think, companies and competitors out there, they're just trying to itch out, they're itching to just sell you another box. We want to go beyond that. I think that's how we create customer loyalty. That's how we create that, hey, we're the thought leader. We're thinking about the process that you creatives are going through to help you make your lives easier.
And that's fantastic. And that's what the name of the game is. And for me, I'll tell you, speaking selfishly, of course, because I am myself speaking, but what I would love to see is, I'm not going to dwell on this whole future facing thing, but take, for example, Apple, right? The Apple ecosystem. I'm a relatively happy captive inside of the Apple ecosystem with the phone, the tablet, the computer, the Apple TV, the watch, and on and on and on, right? And the iTunes and all these different things. They've formed an ecosystem and made it really comfortable for me, kind of like Wall-E, right? To stay in that ecosystem. And I'm totally happy inside. As long as I can get my work done with as little friction as possible, I'm going to stay there. What I was thinking of in advance of this interview was, and it sort of occurred to me, why is there no storage level ecosystem where a company like StorCentric is going to own my world of data from this was the impetus of the SD card question. That's going to own my data from the SD card level all the way through to me putting it on my desktop and editing, or my ruggedized device, wherever I happen to be, or whatever my usage is. It's StorCentric all the way up until backing up to the cloud as well. It's StorCentric all the way. So StorCentric sort of becomes my operating system for my data, for kind of like, and it becomes a foregone conclusion that, from soup to nuts, from shutter click all the way through to this thing is backed up and it's in cold storage now. It's one provider, and they all the different services and components of that service sort of work together. How come we don't have that yet? Like, to my knowledge, no one has built anything that just sort of owns me from shutter click all the way through to cold storage.
So I kind of take it back. I don't think you have it, because people have traditionally viewed storage as just a commodity type product or service, right?
Yeah.
And I think we're in a unique position. And it's funny, what you just mentioned is essentially our strategy, awesome. Right? It's to have that. It's to have everything hooked, the hooks in, to get to a point. I mean, some of the things we're thinking about is, you pay a monthly fee for it, for storage. Mm-hmm. And that includes your cloud backup, that includes your hardware, that includes all your storage devices. Mm-hmm. And if they, include your support and all those types of things on a per terabyte level, I believe we can come in cheaper than just a pure cloud play right now, right? If you come in above a terabyte. But again, what this helps with is look, 3 years down the line, you're on the ecosystem, your Drobo gets old, we just send you a new one.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what I want. Yeah.
So, or we know when a drive in your Drobo is about to crash. You know what? 2 days from now, a new drive will show up. So you just eject that one and put it in. So it's all this predictive analytics that we're actually going to be building into our next generation products.
That's brilliant. Because if you have that information, if you know that a drive is going to crash, or there's a high probability that drive 3 is going to bite it soon, and you have that data, it would be great to get a notification, or even if I'm in some sort of subscription plan for 3 years or whatever, for you to say, hey, we've noticed drive 3 is about to bite it. You've got another one showing up tomorrow. Make sure you replace it as soon as possible. So from a consumer standpoint, and to feel like, oh, these guys have my back. Look at that. I do not have to worry about this. I don't know any other industry, any other service providers that are proactive like that. Even car manufacturers, your idiot lights in the car will come on. But even if the car manufacturer, the service department at, say, BMW know that, hey, this guy needs to change his oil soon, we know that, we'll just flash this up when he starts his car. Wouldn't it be great if they actually contacted me and said, hey, we made an appointment for you. There's 3 slots for you to bring the car in, then we're going to change your oil. Like, there's so much stuff to think about these days. I love that you guys are thinking in a direction of, sort of taking some of that responsibility off of my shoulders for my data. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and look, it's happening with the car companies as well. Let's be very clear that folks are trying to figure out how to have that high level of customer touch. Volvo just launched a program where I can go on my app and I can buy a car, rent a car on a subscription basis for $500 a month. That includes my insurance, includes my maintenance, and includes my car payment, everything all in one. And in 2 years, I either turn it in, or I just turn it in and get a new car, or I upgrade to the one above. So even car companies are starting to think about this. I don't know why the storage industry hasn't, especially on the lower end storage devices.
Yeah.
I think the higher end folks have started thinking about it. But look, it's difficult to change the status quo and the thinking of that. Right. And so, our job here, at StorCentric is to figure out how we can make that as painless as possible for our customers.
Yeah, that's fantastic. All right, last question here, and then I'll let you get back to creating the future of my data. Speaking of future, what is the big thing that sort of, not future facing and new product development and managing the team and all that stuff, what keeps you up at night the most about being in this industry and being the head guy in charge at StorCentric? What keeps you, what wakes you up at 5 o'clock instead of 6?
Well, I think a couple of things. One is, all these China tariffs that are happening, right? Like, does that impact our business? Does it impact our ability to compete on a cost-effective level here in the U.S.? Because our products are manufactured over there, right? They're designed here, but manufactured over there.
Yeah.
That's one thing. I think the second thing is, look, there's some real interesting industry trends that are emerging, which I don't think the storage industry has figured out. They put marketing material around it, but they really haven't figured it out. One is IoT, right? IoT is the Internet of Things. These are, we're going to have billions of connected devices creating data.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Where's that data going to be stored, and how is it going to be analyzed, right? We want to go be at the forefront of that. I think the second thing is we see out there is actually the third thing is that artificial intelligence, right? It's that's going to require a lot of data, right, to be able to create robots and products that are putting together, that are in factories, putting together cars or other things that they're manufacturing. That's going to need an input of data, an influx of data, not only to be distributed for instruction sets, but also to be stored and created and fixed and those types of things. So I think those are three things that, okay, we know this industry shift is happening. How are we going to play as that shift occurs? How are we going to play in those trends?
Yeah, that was I was tap dancing around that. I was going to ask you that question about the tariff thing and how that impacts the business. So thank you for being proactive in answering that. That's
look,
awesome.
and fortunately, we are not affected on this go around.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we continue to monitor that, right? Is that there is things that are obviously out of my control that'll happen. But we're agile enough. We have a smart team, that can figure that stuff out.
Now, Mihir, thank you for taking the time to do this out of your busy day. If people want to learn more about all of these products, if they're on the enterprise side, they want to learn more about the Nexan stuff or the Drobo stuff, where should they go? What's a good location for them to head to?
Yeah, Nexan.com, NEXSAN.com is all our Nexan products. You guys are very familiar with Drobo.com. That's all the Drobo products, features, all those types of things. I did want to mention, I know there's a lot of concern with your audience about Drobo, StorCentric, getting rid of Drobo, the Drobo brand. Drobo is in full effect. It is not going anywhere, and Drobo will continue to serve its customers, for the foreseeable future. So don't fret about Drobo going away.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up as well. Yeah, that is a concern that, does this mean that they're going to focus entirely on the enterprise and forsake all of the little guys? And it sounds like you guys are going to chew gum and walk at the same time, right?
Yeah, and we stated that if you looked in the press release from day one, it is two distinct operating businesses, right? Because Nexan serves its customers, and those are not the same customers as Drobo, and Drobo serves customers that are not Nexan. Now, we do find, like I said, in large corporations where they buy both. So in that scenario, they have a single throat to choke.
Love it. Love it. All right.
It's usually mine.
I think we should title this interview "A Single Throat to Choke." Right?
We should. I like that.
I love it. I'm using that. That's gonna be part of my my sayings. I'm the one that's normally known for those kind of sayings. Mihir, come on. Okay. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
This is TWiP.